I have tonight some good news and some bad news. Each of us are going to give a sermon in words or in song. Each sermon is at most 250 words. As I said, the news is both good and bad, and I will leave it to you to interpret which is which. The topic of our sermonettes tonight is personal, what it means to each of us to see the world through Torah, in 250 words or less. To give you a sense of what that sounds like, I am already at word 86. Except none of this introduction counts against my allotment of words. More bad news. So with that in mind, let us begin. We have here Torah scrolls, in fact, right here as well, but most of us interact with Torah through printed copies. Copies like this one, which is published by the Union for Reform Judaism and edited by Rabbi Gunther Plaut, Zichrono Livracha. For shorthand, it is called the Plaut, after the editor, and you will see this book in every Reform synagogue in this country. And it is printed on translucent tissue paper. Just a fun aside. But if you open it and read Rabbi Plaut's introduction, you will see that the first sentence of the second paragraph says the following. This commentary proceeds from the assumption that the Torah is a book which had its origin in the hearts and minds of the Jewish people. In other words, the position of Rabbi Plaut and our movement is that the Torah and all it contains comes from us, which means the position of our movement is that it does not come from God. And I will say that is also my position. Rabbi Plaut spends the remainder of his introduction explaining how the Torah can still be valuable, even if not divine. But with my remaining words, let me say this. If the stories of the Torah are not historical, then the authors could have told any story that they wished. Think of what origin story you would give yourself if historical reality was not a constraint. So what was it that the authors chose as the story of our people? Characters from the very first to the very last who are deeply flawed and deeply human. They chose a history marred by the dehumanizing degradation of slavery. They wrote of a people described repeatedly as stiff-necked. And most importantly, they wrote of an eternal covenant between these people and their God that endured through it all. Rabbi Bess?
During the week of Sukkot, which, as you know, just ended, we read the words of Ecclesiastes, "There's nothing new under the sun," almost a message of what's the point. It's strange because Sukkot is called our season of joy, and we read this book that acknowledges the uncertainty in life almost in an overwhelming fashion. And then comes Simchat Torah, an uncomplicated joy. Seeing the world through eyes of Torah means seeing the world of possibility, of imagining what could be and working to bring that vision to fruition. Each book of Torah highlights the centrality of this worldview. From Genesis, where God speaks a new world into being, something that had never existed before. We see Abraham and Sarah choose a path that had yet to be taken by anyone before them. And Jacob struggles with God directly, transforming into Yisrael. In Exodus, it continues with the ultimate redemption story, moving from an enslaved people who never imagined an alternate reality different from what they were experiencing for over 400 years, to finally finding freedom and self-determination, leading to Leviticus, which demands that we build a world that is different than the one in which we live, one that protects the most vulnerable among us, a change from many other ancient societies. And then in Numbers, we read how we persevered despite sabotaging our own efforts by our own failures. And in Deuteronomy, we review our past, but not just to look at what happened, but in order to imagine a new future, to remind us that change is a current constant. Each book of Torah does not blindly envision a different future. It dives deep into the present in which these characters lived. We learn of their personal struggles and failures and missteps and errors. And we're reminded that progress is not simple. We will slip, we will fail, but we will never let go of our ultimate purpose as a people, building a world that honors the dignity of every human, that does not accept things as they are, but seeks to create the world as it should be. Rabbi Micah.
What does it mean to see the world through the eyes of Torah? It means to see the world somehow, some way, through eyes of joy, in spite of and no matter what happens in life. It means to see the world through the eyes of Genesis, Bereshit. The rabbis said there are two kinds of seeing in this world. There's the kind of seeing that happens when you open your eyes and look at the world, which is in itself a great miracle, since most of the time we don't look. And even if we look, taking that same walk or run around the neighborhood, most of us don't see. So it's a miracle when we can see and look. That's the first kind of seeing. The second kind of seeing, the rabbis say, is the name of this holiday we're ending, which also contains the name of the new holiday. Seeing the world through Zman Simchatenu eyes. It's the way we can look at the world with eyes of joy. The Rishon Rabbi said that this way of seeing the world is when we look at the world with our eyes closed. Because when our eyes are closed, we can see what the world can be instead of looking around and seeing the hate and all the things that are wrong. And there are so many things wrong right now. So maybe if we can begin with our eyes closed, we can see the potential, not just for ourselves, but especially for those around us, for the community, for our nation, for the world. God is calling us to repair and heal and help if we look around us and look inside us.
This is a song by Marcia Addy, and I chose it because I felt it has many symbols of Torah, and I think it's the line, "It's all inside of you," references that there is a spark of the divine in each one of us. Oh, heart of mine, lost and find, my home is sometimes near and sometimes far. It's always changing. Oh, heart of mine, take the time to feel the sadness. Love is always near. It seems they go together. The walls are coming down and down and down, and life is going round and round and round, and love, it will be found and found and found. It's all inside of you. Oh, moon of mine, to see you shine is like as if to wish upon a star. I'm so glad to see you. Oh, moon of mine, night is time for love and wonder spread across the sky. What would we do without you? Walls are coming down and down and down, and life is going round and round and round, and love, it will be found and found and found. It's all inside of you. Oh, friend of mine, eyes that shine so bright and help me feel that I am not alone. I'm so glad to see you. Oh, friend of mine, space nor time will break the bond that holds my heart with yours. I'll always love you. The walls are coming down and down and down. And life is going round and round and round. And love, it will be found and found and found. It's all inside of you. It's all inside of you.